Spartans! What is your profession?
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it is time to have a look at the summer sale, which is happening, starting on the 19th of June 2020, and this sale is going until the 25th of June. So you basically have 6 days or 5.5 days from watching this video to make up your mind on some of the bundles and discounts which are on offer. Generally, when we have a look across the store, there are a ton of bundles, mainly focusing on top-tier machines when it comes to helicopters, airplanes, and also tanks. There is also some other stuff when it comes to individual packs for separate packs, and a special Ace aircraft bundle as well at 50% off. You can also get yourself some nice titles. If you have all of the helicopter bundles, you get Hovering Threat, aircraft bundles Diving Threat, and all bundles Air Superiority. So obviously the, I suppose looking at it today, what we are seeing is a focus on aviation, which makes sense because the majority of packs do have aviation in them. Now, pretty much across the board, there is a pack for every nation when it comes to the ground vehicles. You have the ground vehicle and then either a helicopter or a ground vehicle and an airplane. Normally in the form of a jet. There are obviously some differences with Sweden not having helicopters. It only gets a ground and a jet bundle, and the same with the Chinese as well. So that is something which we must see. Unfortunately, when it comes to bundles, it seems like naval has been left out. I can't seem to find anything for naval, which is very much a shame, but I'm guessing maybe in the future they'll be able to set up some stuff for it going forward, or at least I really hope so, because, you know, it's nice to have a summer sale and everything like that, but at the same time, it is kind of sad that that part of the game has been forgotten here. There have also been some economy changes. We're going to do a video also today looking at that, so make sure to check it out. Now, as always, when it comes to these summer sales, I've decided to do a spreadsheet, and you can find a link to the spreadsheet in the description. It is only one single page, because I felt like there wasn't really need to do any more, and here you go. This is what the spreadsheet looks like, and it just is a breakdown of the summer sales of each of the bundles. As you can see, the majority of them are $55. This is USD. Some of them are $50, others are $52. And what I've done is I've put them all on the side with what is included in the packs, and then in the center there, I've, instead of doing each pack individually, I've done the $55 cost one, the $52 cost one, and the $50 cost one. So if you spend $55 on a pack, it's going to cost you $9.31 per vehicle, the $52, $7.81, and the $50 is at $6.81, meaning that that is basically what you are paying per vehicle. That is without, or sorry, that is taking away the premium time and the GE, and obviously dividing by the amount. I've also done the Ace aircraft bundle there as well, being $42, and then obviously all the extra stuff, and it's $6.81 once again per vehicle there. So that is something to look at when it comes to the overall spreadsheet. So if you need the numbers, if you need a cost breakdown, that is what to look to. And if you need to make any decisions when it comes to monetary stuff, or, you know, do what I do and basically go, right, do I want to eat today, or do I want to buy a pack? Because I don't know, when it comes to War Thunder, I break stuff down in food. For me, it's, okay, so this is going to cost me like 3 McDonald's meals. That's pretty much what I do in my head. Whether that's healthy or not is probably not the best one. But anyway, let's talk about the different packs. Let's talk about the different vehicles that are on offer and give you my general opinions. Obviously, when it comes to helicopters, I'm going to not have the best opinions because of the fact that I don't have a ton of experience with them. All I have is really experience against them, and since I'm a person who is heavily against buying high-tier premiums, just on a principle matter, a lot of the advice or a lot of the opinions is coming from playing against them and also playing with people with them and watching them play and how easy or how hard it is. Also, the majority of the bundled vehicles are actually available in what are known as separate packs. So if you don't want to get the larger discounts across the board by getting bundles, you can buy individual vehicles if you want to. Obviously, these are much worse deals. They're only 30% off overall. And therefore, if you buy them in a bundle, then you get them for cheaper, but of course it's a little bit more expensive because you get more. So if you're looking for a purchase, I would definitely say a bundle is the way to go. But if there is a specific individual vehicle you want, make sure to check out the packs and you might be able to save yourself some stuff. Also remember that many content creators do have discount codes, normally around about 3%, which you can use going forward for certain things. Unfortunately, I do not have an affiliation code, but you can find them on other channels. Now, let's talk about it. The first one is the Summer Helicopter Bundle for the Soviets. You get the T-55AM and the Ka-50. Now, the Ka-50 is a terror of the sky. It has pretty much what you would want. It has Vickers missiles, which basically mean that you can outrange anything in the game still, apart from an ADAT, and you are able to annihilate everything in stuff like Helicopter EC. It is one of the most broken vehicles ever added to the game, and I disagreed with it when it was in its devlog form. I disagreed with it on the dev server, and I still disagree with it today. It is the head honcho, and the only thing that beats it is something you'll be using when you research it from using the Ka-50, the Ka-52. So yeah. Kind of as simple as that. Recently, I've heard it's been incredibly good in stuff like sim battles, but it's always going to be good in Helicopter EC because of its missiles and because of its overall use. Now, what is interesting about this is, so the Ka-50 is a really nice purchase if you like helicopters, but the T-55AM is one which doesn't really fit with it. One of the things about these bundles is generally when you look at the vehicles, what you're looking for is two that'll work together so you can create a decent lineup or something to that effect. And you can't do that with this lineup because you've got an 8.3 in the form of the T-55AM and like a 10.0, 10.3 with the Ka-50. Obviously helicopter BRs don't matter too much, but because of how their modes are set up. But if you want to run this in ground, you don't want to bring a T-55AM into top tier. You'll get mullered because of the fact that the T-55AM, its strengths come with its armor, come with its general usability in that sense, and not others. Now, the T-55AM recently got put down to 8.3. I disagree with that decision too, and you can see that sometimes when you actually, sign up for a game, you click the to battle button, there'll be 80, 90 to 100 people in queue for the Soviet rank 6. That's basically thanks to the T-55AM. There's a ton of people playing it right now because it's really good against stuff at 8.0, at 8.3, and 7.7. There is only a few vehicles, such as the AMX-30B2, such as the other vehicles like the T-62, which is normally on its team, which are very good against it. Generally, the armor that's on the front of it deals with Heat FS very handedly and also deals with a lot of APDS, so even stuff such as Conquerors are going to struggle sometimes against this machine. It's incredibly survivable at 8.3, it should go back up to 8.7, and it may even go back up to 8.7, who knows, but at least for right now, it is definitely a clubber, and it is a direct better vehicle than the T-55A, which sits itself also at 8.3. So you can literally pay to win with this vehicle. This is an overall pay to win pack. The next pack is the T-55AM that we've already talked about, and the MiG-17AS. This is once again a $55 one. The MiG-17AS, in my opinion, is not really strong. I know a lot of people like it because of the extra engine power and also the fact it gets air-to-airs. I generally think when it comes to the vehicle, it does get outmatched by a lot of other vehicles that it fights. If you're comparing it to the standard MiG-17, of course it is better, and generally it is better than the Bish as well, which was the old premium that the Soviets got. And I think it's if you're looking for a vehicle to grind through the Soviet tech tree with when it comes to aviation, it's not a bad one, but I would actually probably go for a lower one, something like a King Cobra or something that's actually a GE premium that would be better than this machine, because this machine at 8.7 does have the ability to get up-tiered into 9.7s, and there really is nothing you can do against them, and it's not a good feeling. For a vehicle in the MiG-17 that relies on its energy a lot, if you come up against a vehicle that has better energy than you, or better energy retention, I should say, you just are kind of screwed. There's not a lot you can do in it. And there's a lot of situations where you can feel helpless in this machine. It does have good ground ordnance, though. Like, it can be used in ground realistic, too. And it's also closer to the BR of the T-55AM, so as a package, it makes a bit more sense. Moving on to the next one, we have the German helicopter bundle. This is probably the weakest helicopter out of them, the BO-105. Does have access to tows though, so it's still pretty useful when it comes to ground realistic, but not as useful when it comes to helicopter EC. It will get twatted by KA-50s and Apaches. The Leopard A1A1 L44 might be the most prolific premium that we have in the game. I've been playing a lot of 9.3 Soviets because I generally am enjoying the BR, T-72s and T-64s, and I feel like the majority of enemies I face are L44s. There is just a ton of them around the place. The L44 is a very good machine, has pretty much a lol pen round when it comes to its APF SDS. It has access to thermals, it has access to speed, and also sometimes it has access to incredibly dodgy armor. For some reason, the turrets on the L44 will every so often just ricochet, or shells will disappear into it, which will never come out, as if it's a black hole. So sometimes you get lucky with it, but the majority of the time, if somebody knows how to deal with it, yeah, your armor's not going to stand up to much, but because of the very powerful guns that are running around at that tier, then normally no one's armor really matters that much, apart from a few vehicles. Since it went up in BR, you still can't get the top tier 10.3s. The L44 can deal with everything up to 10.0 very easily. It's, as I said, because of the powerful gun and the fact that you have access to thermals, you just have to look for the white and shooty. So it just is a very easy vehicle to use, very simple to use, and is part of that really powerful German lineup at 9.0. Not as powerful anymore, but it's still very good. The Leopard A1A1 L44, the Radkampfwagen, the Begleitpanzer, the TAM, the Leopard A1A1, the G.91 R3. All of these make a wonderful recipe for a beautiful lineup, and the L44 is kind of the kingpin of that. So it's a very good vehicle. This pack is also cheaper than a lot of the other ones at $50, mainly because of the BO-105 not being as strong as others. Then the next pack is the same, but with the Seahawk. Seahawk is not a great machine. It's one of those middling premiums where if it gets up-tiered, which it does a lot because it's at 8.3, I believe, so it gets into 8.7s a lot, you have, once again, an energy disparity, and then you have to make it up when it comes to maneuverability. But if somebody knows what they're doing against the jets, which maneuvers a lot, well, guess what? You run out of energy and then you get shot, or you get air-to-aired. So I don't think it's great in an air-realistic sense. In a ground-realistic sense, it works pretty well as an air superiority fighter, and also get some nice ground ordnance to be able to deal with stuff. So if you're looking at ground realistic to use this, I think it's a pretty good shout. If you're looking at air realistic for the Seahawk, it's a no bueno. The next one is the USA helicopter bundle. This has the XM1 GM and also the Apache, the Patan. This is an incredibly strong bundle. The XM1 GM at 9.3, yes, it can get into 10.3, but it has all the bells and whistles that you'd want from a 9.3 vehicle. Thermals. Very good survivability when it comes to its armor, even though, and what I mean by this is its armor isn't great, but because of the cruise spacing, it's really hard to one-shot an XM1 from the front if you are using a 9.3 or below rounds. And the other thing as well, it has blowout panels, it has a ton of smoke, it has artillery, it has pretty much everything apart from scouting on it. It also has access to very good APF SDS, and the XM1 has a pretty much a low win rate, but I would actually say that's because the vehicle is really good. Now, I know this sounds really dumb, but these are from my own observations of playing around the BR. Because the XM1 is very survivable, and because a lot of Abrams right now are very survivable, people who play them run around with their heads cut off and can take trades that no other vehicles would be able to take. So therefore what happens is they get themselves into really awkward situations and they think, oh, I can just reverse out of it, and then somebody pops them. So yeah, it's an incredibly good vehicle. It has been since its release. There's a reason why it's the highest BR premium when it comes to ground forces in the game. Really, really good. The Apache on top of it as well gives you a nice option to be able to grind out the helicopter tech tree with the AH-64A. Obviously, it has access to Hellfires, it has access to the chain gun, has access to all the bells and whistles you would want, apart from the radar, which is a bit of a problem, I suppose, but I haven't seen anybody use the longbow radar in any really cool or interesting way. It has, you know, all of the general things that helicopters have, like the lock-on fire control systems. The only thing it seems to be beat out by is the K50 right now, so I'd say that's pretty strong. The next vehicle is the Sabre Skyblazer, obviously pack with the XM1 GM. This Sabre, the F-35, it's got good maneuverability, it's got pretty good energy retention, but it's got an overall low energy amount, if that makes sense. So the energy it retains is great, but I'm not sure the energy state that it's at is always the best. It's really good at defensively flying. It has 50 cals attached to it, so setting fires to stuff is very easy to do, and also the secondary ordnance is really nice, and if we ever get nukes in the game, well, this thing could have that capability, which would be hilarious. I'd say it's an okay vehicle. I would take this pack personally over this pack, just because of the use of the Apache. The next one is the British, and they have a helicopter bundle as well. They have the G-Lynx and the Roycat 105. Now, the G-Lynx was, or used to be, the best helicopter in the British tree, and it was a premium. But now we have the Apache, so there is something to grind to. I generally don't think a lot of the British helicopters are very good, so the G-Lynx is nice to get that premium bonus, so you can push forward with it and be able to, you know, get through to that Apache, which is obviously the creme de la creme, and it also, you know, has access to good speed, it has access to decent secondaries when it comes to, you know, hitting stuff with its missiles, but it doesn't have that overall usability that something like a K50 or a Apache does. So even though you may use this thing, you won't have as good of an experience in it because of its weapon loadouts and because it can't, you know, bring everything along. At the end of the day, it's a very small, fast, maneuverable helicopter, which isn't always designed to be good at blowing stuff up. The Roycat 105 is a wheeled vehicle which always surprises me. It has thermals, it has an L7, it has a lot of damage behind it when it comes to its gun. And one of the interesting things about the Roycat is it always seems to be on my side of the map. Whenever I've played against the British, I end up fighting a Roycat within the first 2 or 3 minutes on the map, which has somehow got across the map at the speed of light. And that's because these things are incredibly quick, they have stabilizers, and they have scouting, they have pretty much everything you'd want. Their hull break is also a little bit dodgy, so sometimes it's really hard to kill it. Overall, Roycat gets like a 9 out of 10 from me. I think it's a really good vehicle. G-Lynx, not so much. Then we have the Shock Cal Delay and the Hunter FG9. Because for some reason the Roycat is not allowed to be in this pack. I don't know why. The Shock Cal Delay is an A3 premium. It's a good, stocky A3 premium, APF SDS, extra ERA on a Centurion chassis. Overall, I would say it's a nice pick. I would definitely say the A3 lineup is not great for Britain though. The win rate for that lineup, like with the Cent Mark 5, the Cent Mark 3 is absolutely abysmal, which is a real problem with it, you know, real issue. But the vehicle itself is pretty good. The armor, the extra armor doesn't really do anything, but the extra gun with the stabilization and the APF SDS does a ton of damage, and it's nice. The Hunter FGA9 is completely outclassed by the stuff around it. I don't know why it was added to the game. I think it was added to the game because people weren't happy with the Meteor Reaper, or it didn't sell enough or something from the marketing team, but it isn't a meta vehicle. It doesn't really do too well. Its sidewinders are some of the worst in the game, and at the same time, it's a hunter. It's designed to go in a straight line fast and maneuver when required. The problem with this playstyle is when you have something which is faster. There is something which goes Mach 2 that faces this at the same BR as the Hunter FGA9, and that makes it not very good. The next one is the Japanese helicopter pack. You got the Type 74 GK, and you got the H1S Cobra. So the Type 74 Mod GK has access to obviously thermals, L7, I go through the list, laser rangefinder, has access to smoke grenades, pretty much everything that every other 9.0 premium has, and it also has one of the best darts in the game at 9.0. It's what puts the Type 74 different to a bunch of the other vehicles which are premium when it comes to other tech trees. You basically have a really good dart which goes through absolutely anything, and it's a really dangerous vehicle to face. It does have a few issues when it comes to like gun depression, when it comes to maneuverability. It's not as fast as some of the other vehicles out there, but when it comes to killing power or stopping power, it is one of the best at its tier. The H1S is okay. It's not the best in the world when it comes to the helicopter uses, but you do have a pretty cool tech tree now for Japan, and once again, if you want to get the Apache, it's probably the best way to do it. You also have a pretty cool skin which comes along with it if you are a weeb. You get a pretty cool Wakana Kisarazu camouflage, which is like a promotion camouflage with chibis and weebies and all of that wonderful stuff. The other pack is the aircraft pack with the F40 and the Type 74. F40 is an elongated Sabre when it comes to the wings, so it can turn a little bit better, it can roll a little bit better, and overall it is slightly better than its competition. It also has some air-to-air missiles, which is kind of nice. At one point it was the best Sabre in the game. I'm not sure if it is as good as the Sabre Dog. I'd have to ask around, but at least it's a competent machine at its BR. I would definitely take it over something like a MiG. The Type 74 is the same one. The next one is the OF40 Mark II MTCA and the Mangusta for Italy. Now, the Mangusta is I don't want to really put it like this because it's not factually correct, but the way it feels like is it's like a baby Apache. It has access to some of the bells and whistles that the Apache does, but not all of them. Like, it has access to some of the ATGMs, it has access to some of the machine guns. It has access to some of the features, but not all of the features, and that's a real issue when it comes to the Mangusta. So it's a good helicopter, but it's not a top-tier helicopter. It doesn't break into the P-10 or the Longbow or the KA-50's bracket. The OF40 MTCA is just a faster OF40 Mark II that you have in the tech tree. It is incredibly speedy. I don't think it has access to thermals though, which is a little bit of an issue with it, and it is at 9.0, so there is a lot of other vehicles at 9.0 with thermals, so you do have to think about that. But the round that it has is good enough. Its general spacing of its vehicle is quite interesting. It has some spaced armor on the turrets. It's hard to one-shot this thing, especially if it's hulled down. The ammunition is kind of easy to hit though, so sometimes it goes pop pretty easily, and the base armor on it is useless. It's a leopard. I don't know how else to put it. It's a thick boy leopard. Then we have the aircraft bundle, G.91 and the OF40 Mark II. G.91 has access to AA-20s, AS-20s, and also air-to-airs. This is the funnest ground realistic plane in the game, and obviously the Germans get one because why not? But the Nords are incredibly good at taking out ground targets right now. And the G.91 platform, when it comes to dealing in air realistic, I will always favour over many of the competition. The reason for this is because it's incredibly manoeuvrable. It's a little bit smaller than a lot of the competition, so it's harder to hit. And at the same time, it gets access to air-to-airs and really, really good energy retention. The way I see it is it's a mini Sabre. And generally, I think the Sabre is pretty good at 8.3, 8.7, and 9.0. So the Fiat G91 also gets a nod. Its engine isn't as strong, but it's still fine. The next one is the French helicopter bundle. You get the Tiger Hap, and you also get the Super AMX30. For me, the Super AMX30 is the best 9.0 premium in the game. You have speed, you have survivability, you have great thermals, you have a really stabilized gun with a really good APF SDS round. Really good across the board, the Super AMX30, and also the French tree is pretty fun to play. And, you know, it doesn't have great backup, but when the vehicle is as good as that, you don't really need good backup. But yeah, I really enjoy the Super AMX30 personally. I think it's I easily think it's the best 9.0 premium. Then you have the EC665 Tiger Hap, and this is obviously the helicopter that is available for the French. It has basically the same capabilities as something like a Mangusta. Feels incredibly similar to it. Is it in the top echelon of helicopters? Kind of. It's on the barrier. Not as good as a K50. Not as good as a Longbow. Then you have the aircraft bundle. You get the Votor 2A. So if you want your Mirage, this is the easiest way of doing it. Just spam out the Votor every match, and the Votor is really easy to play. It also gets some unique air-to-air missiles, the Shafirs, I think they're called. It's an Israeli Votor, and yeah, it's really unmaneuverable. It goes pretty quick, but not as quick as some of its competition. It can easily bomb bases. It can easily hit people with air-to-airs, but if you're using it as a dogfighter, there are much better options. Also, the rank 5 French jets are overall pretty bad, so getting through them to get to a Mirage or something, it's not a bad idea to pick up something like the Votor, so you can effectively grind by turning your brain off. The next one is the summer aircraft for China. You get the Shenyang F5, so pretty much exactly the same as what I said for the MiG-17AS, and the T-62 makes a return. So instead of doing the Type 69 or the T-69-2A or 2G, sorry, they're bringing back the T-62. This one's also $52, so it's a little bit cheaper than the 55s. I really like the T-62. I have a lot of time for it. I always will have a lot of time for the T-62 when it comes to any tech tree. It's got really good APF SDS. Its survivability is pretty good, especially if you hold down, and generally the only thing that holds it back is its reload isn't the best, and its gun depression can sometimes get you killed, but overall it's a fun vehicle, and it matches really well up against German and American vehicles. And at 8.3 right now, with all the Soviets running around, you need all the help you can get, and the T-62 can give you it. It's definitely not everybody's playstyle, but I am, as I said, a fan. When it comes to the Swedish, you get the STRV 1030 and the Sabre J29D. So I've played the barrel, which is the J29D. It's a fat saber, and it flies like a fat saber. It lumbers. It doesn't have the best turn rate on it, doesn't have the best roll rate on it, has really good guns though, really powerful guns, and pretty interesting ordnance, with the rockets, but I wouldn't recommend it as a vehicle, unless you're trying to get to stuff like the J32, A32, and obviously the Draken. It's not as good as a lot of the competition that it fights, because of the issues I talked about before. Energy retention is not the best because it's fat, and also its roll rate is not very good because guess what? It's fat. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. The STRV 1030 is definitely a unique experience in the game. It's one of those ones which is very much all over the place. I've had it since its release, and it's definitely better now. When it comes to its overall usability, but it still has issues traversing when it's on a slope and being able to shoot at targets. It can be one of the most frustrating and one of the most hilarious machines at the same time. It also has an issue with setting on fire because it has fuel tanks on the side of it. So if you clip those fuel tanks, guess what? you're going to use your FPE 3 times and you're going to die. It has really good survivability apart from that, though, once they fix the external fuel tank issue, if they're going to fix it. Where this machine can only needs one crew member to survive. So even if you get shot a bunch of times, normally you can just ping them off. So at 7.7, you also have a really good lineup for the Swedish, STRV 101 and then the other STRV 103. I would say it's a good vehicle to use, and also a 4-second reload. So even if you miss that, if you miss that first shot because your stilts have made it so you can't hit the enemy properly, you'll definitely hit the second one. Even though it's dodgy, I know it's dodgy from its movements, I would recommend this just because it's a bit of fun. The next one is not one. The next one is the Ray Wetmore's P51D pack, which is right here. And as I said, the other separate packs are at 30% discount, so you can have a look there. There's also PS4 and Xbox stuff as well when it comes to deals, so make sure if you're a PlayStation or an Xbox player to check that stuff out too. So the Ace Aircraft bundle, 50% off, $42. You get a P51D10, P47M 1RE, and the P38K pack. All of these are pretty good vehicles. The P47M is easily the best out of them. It was also available for the D-Day event, so kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, it's all three of these vehicles are good in air realistic, they're good in ground realistic. They all have very similar playstyles. Get above the enemy and then go down on them. Use your energy advantage to be able to get your guns on target. Stay in the battle for a very long time because you have crazy ammunition and a lot of fuel load, and outlast your opponents by doing damage to them. Once you get a target in your sights, you should die. 50 cals are incredibly good in this game right now and have been for a very long time. So I would recommend all three of these vehicles. Maybe the P51D in air realistic you would need to squad up with because it's not always going to be the easiest thing to do, just because of the fact that it has issues with teams falling apart around it while you're trying to get to altitude. Like the P51 and the P47 take a little bit to get to altitude, to get to that 4K, 5K that you need to get to, and by that point the majority of the team might be dead, so make sure to bring along a buddy in something like a P51 to be able to use it to its great effect. They also all have really good SL modifiers on them and RP modifiers, which is obviously a great thing. Anyway, I think that is about it when it comes to the Summer Sale. There's a ton of stuff here for pretty much everybody if you like top tier stuff. The only issue is there's no naval things at all. But you can, where's the naval stuff? It's very odd. Hopefully naval gets its own little sale some point so we can have a look at that stuff. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Battling Bacon, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Conte Baraka, Daniel Stanton, Elove Goat, Jay Wilt, Martinez, Trigger Hippie, Universe, Eugens Terry, and also I'm Devilish and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.